Hi, I'm Paul Irwin from businessenglishcommunity.com, and in this short video I'm going to give you 7 tips for attending meetings in English. Let's jump right in. Okay, tip number 1 is to engage in some small talk, some chit chat at the beginning of the meeting. This helps to relax everyone involved in the meeting. Just a little quick chat with someone about the weather or about the football match or something like that. However, what is also really important is to not overdo it. Depending on the culture in which you are operating, different amounts or different times of small talk are acceptable. In some cultures, it's really down to business straight away. In others, it's perfectly normal to have a chat for 10 or 15 minutes, or in some cases even longer, before getting started. So make sure you understand the culture and make sure you engage in the appropriate amount of small talk. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, prepare your questions and comments beforehand. Of course, you might not know exactly how the meeting is going to pan out, but you probably do have a very good idea of the types of questions you might like to ask, or the sorts of comments that you might wish to make. If that's the case, you can prepare these in advance by writing them out in a Word document and then practice them by reading them aloud. Practice them with a native speaker if you can, and make sure you perfect them before you go into the meeting. That will make sure you are much more confident when you actually start the meeting. And although you won't have everything covered, it will go a long way to making you have a more successful time in that meeting. That's number 2, prepare questions and comments beforehand. Number 3, get a good position in the meeting. Often in a meeting, you do have a choice of where you sit. And this might sound like a strange tip, but I've seen many non-native speakers over the years who prefer to sit further away, to hide away from the action. Well, what's the problem with that kind of strategy? It becomes more difficult for them to understand what is going on in the meeting and more difficult for them to contribute. So get yourself a good position in the meeting, a good position at the table where you are central, where you can hear everyone clearly and where you can respond and others are going to be able to hear you more clearly. So that's number 3, get a good position in the meeting. Number 4, ask questions to involve others. Questions are a great way of communicating because as soon as we ask a question, we are expecting an answer, aren't we? So it's a good idea to have some questions ready and ask those questions in the meeting to keep the conversation flowing. That's number 4. Ask questions to involve others. Number 5, try and explain things using simple terms. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't think that using complicated or flowery language is going to make you sound better. Quite the opposite. Focus on explaining things in simple terms. That's number 5. Number 6, do not be afraid to ask someone to repeat something. Often non-native speakers are embarrassed to ask someone to repeat something. Don't be. Ask someone to repeat if you don't understand. Could you say that again, please? Could you say that again, please? Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? No one is going to think less of you if you ask that simple question, and it's going to make it much easier for you to contribute positively to the meeting. That's number 6. Do not be afraid to ask someone to repeat something. And finally, number 7, take notes. I think it's really important to take notes in the meeting so you can check back on them later. You can note down any words that you didn't understand and perhaps ask a trusted colleague afterwards. So take notes. That will help you to improve for the future. So there are my 7 tips. Let me give you a quick run through. Number 1, engage in some small talk. Number 2, prepare questions and comments beforehand. Number 3, get a good position in the meeting. Number 4, ask questions to involve others. Number 5, try and explain things using simple terms. Number 6, do not be afraid to ask someone to repeat something. And number 7, take notes. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Paul Irwin from businessenglishcommunity.com. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. We've got some more great videos on the way, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give me a big thumbs up in the likes below. Thank you. All the best.